Doesn't strike me at all. Same reaction. Kathy Engelbert should resign as the commissioner of the WNBA. And the reason I said that, fellas, is because when a player, and Nafisha Collier is a star in the WNBA. This is not some role player. This is her, okay? Who also happens to be a vice president. You understand? Players association. For her to come out.
The most surprising part is not the idea that Caitlin Clark could be finished with the WNBA. Is how quickly everyone acted like that possibility never existed at all. One moment, she was the future of the league, the engine driving sold-out arenas, record television numbers, and national attention that women's basketball had chased for decades. The next moment, the league was dealing with public labor tension, internal pressure, and a sudden shift in tone from people who usually avoid uncomfortable truths. Even Stephen A. Smith, rarely known for caution, sounded like the only adult in the room. Something changed quietly behind closed doors, and it had nothing to do with missed shots or box scores. This was about power, timing, and control. It was about what happens when a league built on collective momentum collides with a single player who has become central to its financial reality. The system assumed stability. It assumed alignment. It assumed its biggest star would always move in step with the machinery around her. That assumption cracked. When Clark stopped playing along, even without making a statement, the reaction exposed how fragile the balance really was. Politics got louder. Positions hardened. Lines were drawn. And suddenly the question was no longer about the future of the league, but about who actually holds leverage when growth depends so heavily on one name, one jersey, and one jump shot. The real mystery is not whether this moment could have been avoided, is who believed the old rules still applied, and why they were so certain they could not lose.
The truth finally came out. Caitlin Clark voted on by general managers, the best point guard, the best shooting guard, and the singular player they would start the franchise with. In the weird, insular WNBA, this has been a real struggle. You know the truth. And there's these people who are gatekeeping mentality. We'll tell you who's great. Colin, I was watching the WNBA long before Caitlin Clark. Well, yeah, it's not my problem, you're social.
What most people avoid saying is this. The real shock in this situation is not that the WNBA Players Association opted out early. And it is not even the possibility of a labor fight on the horizon. Leagues argue with unions all the time. That part is normal. What is not normal is how exposed the system suddenly looked once pressure was applied. The early opt-out revealed how little margin for error still exists. The league is growing, but it is not yet insulated. Revenue gains are recent. Media deals are still being negotiated. Sponsorship growth is concentrated, not spread evenly. One disruption, one misstep, or one star stepping away can change the math overnight. This moment pulled back the curtain. It showed that progress, while real, is still fragile. And it showed that confidence inside the system may have arrived faster than true stability ever did.
Go ahead and look. Everywhere you turn, Indiana Fever is breaking records. All Cheryl Swoops did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did. Because to know basketball like Cheryl Swoops does, to be as accomplished as she is, to be the Hall of Famer that she is, all accolades that are well-deserved. And I'm certainly not attacking Cheryl Swoops the person because I think she's a wonderful person.
The most uncomfortable realization came next. The panic did not start with lawyers or press releases. It started the moment one player stopped moving in the expected direction. For years, the league repeated a familiar line. No individual mattered more than the system. The shield would always outweigh the name on the jersey. That belief felt safe. It sounded mature. It suggested long-term stability. But the reaction told a different story. When one athlete paused instead of complying, the confidence cracked. Executives grew cautious. Media voices shifted tone. Conversations that once felt celebratory became defensive and urgent. It became clear how much momentum was riding on a single gravitational force. Ticket sales, broadcast interest, sponsorship energy, and cultural relevance had quietly aligned around one person without anyone wanting to say out loud. This was not about ego or defiance. It was about leverage. The league had grown quickly, but the growth was narrow. The foundation was still forming. When that reality was tested, the response was not calm reassurance. It was visible anxiety. In that moment, the old comfort line collapsed. The league was not bigger than every individual. Not yet. And the speed of that realization unsettled everyone who depended on.
Someone came in that everybody wants to watch, kids, everybody. You're sitting there beating it up and doing all this. All y'all become is hated. Like, have y'all not paid attention? No one is caring about anything else. You want to beat on it, they're going to hate on it. You want to talk they're going to hate on it. Like, there comes a point where reality has to kick in. You can keep fighting the fight, and you're going to be the odd person that looks bad. Do they not know, like, when she was gone, it went back to the year before she was in the league? Yeah. Like, the views stopped. Like, just enjoy and go on with.
Stephen A. Smith said the part out loud that the league had been carefully avoiding. He pulled back the curtain and removed the comfort blanket. He reminded everyone that good stories only last until money, power, and ego walk into the same room. After that, reality takes control. Weeks earlier, the narrative felt protected. Women's basketball was being treated like a finished project. Arenas were full. Television ratings were setting records. Sponsorships were climbing. Charter flights were finally standard. The message was clear. The hard part was over. The league had arrived. Stephen A. challenged that idea. He pointed out that growth does not eliminate leverage. It concentrates it. When attention, revenue, and cultural relevance flow through one player, the system becomes fragile, not stronger. Ignoring that fact does not make it go away. It makes the consequences sharper when pressure hits. His argument was not emotional. It was structural. Sports leagues are businesses first. They run on incentives, contracts, and risk. Momentum only matters if it can survive conflict. Once that reality was spoken plainly, the story changed tone. The success no longer felt permanent. It felt exposed. The league had been celebrating stability while quietly depending on a single engine to drive it forward. When that engine slowed down, even briefly, everyone noticed. The calm confidence vanished. In its place came rushed statements, tense negotiations, and visible anxiety. What had felt untouchable weeks earlier now felt brittle. Not because the progress was fake, but because it was unfinished. And once that truth
and attack the commission, and I say that not in any kind of derogatory way. She was talking about Kathy Engelbert directly. She revealed private conversations, you understand, with quotes from this lady, the commissioner, about what she said that came across as dismissive, as derogatory, and unappreciative of the athletes that represent her league.
Women's basketball finally looked like it had arrived. Night after night, arenas were packed. Television ratings were climbing to levels the league had never seen. Charter flights became standard instead of a luxury. Sponsors showed up with real money, not trial runs. Inside the league, there was a sense of relief, almost celebration, like the hard part was finished. The belief was simple. The growth was locked in. The momentum could not be stopped. The league felt safe. That confidence did not last long. At the height of that momentum, the Players Association made a bold move. Instead of letting the current labor agreement run its course, they opted out early. 2 years early. Negotiations were forced open immediately, not eased into. The existing CBA was discarded, and both sides were pushed into a high-stakes conversation overnight. From a union's point of view, the timing felt logical. Attendance was rising. Media deals were expanding. Corporate interest was stronger than ever. If players were going to push for higher salaries, better benefits, and long-term security, this looked like the moment. What complicated the decision was how new this success really was. The financial upswing was not decades old. It was recent, fresh, still fragile. Much of a league's visibility, ticket demand, and national conversation was being driven by a very narrow set of factors, not a fully diversified machine. The union negotiated as if the money was stable, permanent, and spread evenly across the ecosystem. In reality, the boom was still settling, still dependent on public attention staying exactly where it was. By opting out early, the association applied pressure before the foundation had fully hardened. What felt like leverage quickly exposed risk. The celebration phase ended, and the league shifted into damage control mode. The fireworks were already lit. The match had just been struck.
Cool to watch someone like her just start just dominating. You're like, oh yeah. It's just exciting.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, she's She's obviously doing amazing. Her game speaks for itself. I think my favorite part is just women's basketball, women's sports really, but women's basketball has been on the rise. Like this moment, we kind of needed something.
This is
to
that
just
moment.
And Caitlin's that moment. And I think a lot of it has to do with her logo threes. But you can't really talk trash on a logo three.
So a logo three is
Deep. That's
deep. That's almost half court. Where the NBA,
and that's like,
Stephen A. Smith cut through the noise with a blunt reminder. This boom has a center of gravity. It has a face. It has a name. And it has a jump shot people tune in to watch. Ignoring that reality is not courage. It is bad business. While the Players Association raised its voice, pushed for leverage, and framed the moment as collective power, Caitlin Clark chose a different path. She said nothing. No press run. No statement. No public disagreement. She simply stepped back. When the new 3-on-3 league came calling with guaranteed money, ownership equity, and public support from established stars, the assumption was simple. Of course, she would say yes. Everyone does. Instead, she declined. Quietly. No explanation. No counteroffer. She spent her time away from cameras, away from negotiations, doing something ordinary. Playing golf. That silence landed harder than any protest. It forced everyone to listen. Stephen A. did not describe it as quitting. He did not call it defiance. He described it as something more unsettling, a soft withdrawal, a calculated pause, the kind of move that shifts power without ever announcing it. Caitlin Clark did not slam the door. She walked toward it slowly and left it open just enough to make everyone wonder if she might keep walking. That is where the union misread the room. Most players in the league need a new labor deal. They need higher pay. They need better benefits. They need safer travel and fewer compromises. For years, many players had no choice but to play overseas, stretch their bodies across non-stop seasons, and risk long-term health just to make the math work. Wanting change is reasonable, is necessary, is long overdue. But Caitlin Clark does not operate under those constraints. Her income is not tied to off-season contracts. Her visibility does not depend on league promotion. Her value exists beyond the schedule. She sells tickets without asking. She drives ratings without campaigning. Her leverage is not theoretical. It is measurable. And when someone with that kind of leverage chooses silence over participation, the balance shifts immediately. The system was built on the belief that no one player was bigger than the league. That belief held until the moment the league's biggest draw stopped playing along. Not loudly, not publicly, just enough to remind everyone where the momentum was really coming from.